This fucking book. Okay. Hi guys. Really quick content warning for everything. What a story I have for you today. So many of you have probably heard of this book. It is called The Slob by Aron Beauregard. Fun fact, I actually used to work at a mental health facility for at-risk youth, and many of them were gang related, and we were not allowed to say the word slob because it was a derogatory term for the Bloods. So it feels really weird because I'm about to say it like so many times in this video, and I've conditioned myself for so many years not to say that word at all. I also couldn't say the word scrap. Um, so like I couldn't tell my students, go get a piece of scrap paper because they would get very upset. I never realized before how often I used that phrase. Also, another side note, um, this book is listed in Google as erotic fiction, which is very telling of whoever had to put in that description. I don't know if it was like Aron himself or like his publishers or something like that, but wow. If your mother loved 50 Shades of Grey, she's going to love The Slob by Aron Beauregard. So our story starts off with Vera and Daniel Harlow. They are a young married couple, and Vera is 8 months pregnant. This story takes place when door-to-door vacuum salesmen were things. So hold on. I just checked. It was 1988 that this book takes place, and I was way off. So anyway, a vacuum salesman comes to the door of Vera and Daniel, and Vera is immediately interested. She is so impressed with the machine that she thinks that she can start selling these herself to earn some extra income for the family. So at first Daniel is kind of wary of her doing that. He thinks it might be a little bit dangerous, and he really just wants her to focus on staying home and taking care of the baby. But eventually, Vera sells him on the idea. It turns out that Vera is very good at selling things, especially this vacuum, because soon they are raking in commission. Should have done Avon. This all changes one fateful day. Vera is driving around, I think it's towards the end of the day, and she's just looking to make one more sell. So she comes to this more remote neighborhood, very few houses, lots of land in between each house, and she comes upon a house that looks a little bit more disheveled than the others, and this kind of triggers a flashback to like her OCD and past trauma that she's had to deal with, and she is immediately motivated to help this household. So she knocks on the door of this house, and she is greeted by the Slob. The Slob looks like the only not sexy Cenobite on his laundry day, and he has a ponytail and is balding. So there you go. So, Vera notices that the inside of his house is absolutely disgusting. Um, just the worst shit that you can imagine. It smells awful. It's just dingy and dirty, and there's shit everywhere. Probably literally, I don't know. And this motivates Vera even further. She's like, okay, this guy, this poor man needs help. And if I could just get in there, show him how easy it is to use the vacuum and sell this thing, I will be helping him. So she introduces herself, kind of goes through her little spiel, and challenges him to find the dirtiest spot on his carpet that he can find. And she will do a demonstration to clean it up and show him just how easy the vacuum is to use. He kind of grins at her and invites her in the house before locking the front door. Vera notices several locks on the front door. All of them are key operated, and this, for some reason, is not a huge red flag to her. So then the slob leads Vera up the stairs and to a bedroom where he kind of motions for her to look on the other side of the bed. Still, Vera is not noticing warning signs. This isn't setting off any alarm bells for her at all. I don't know. Is Aron Beauregard's thinly veiled fetish like the women have to be kind of dumb? So there on the other side of the bed, Vera finds a mutilated corpse of a woman, just basically in chunks all over the floor. And then she vacuums it up, and that's the end. No, actually, she starts screaming, and the slob attacks her. He beats Vera and knocks her to the floor, and then he goes over and starts picking up like the larger chunks of the body and putting them in a trash bag. On his way out the door, he simply kicks the vacuum cleaner in Vera's direction and tells her to clean it. So Vera panics for a little while. She tries to find a way out, but like the windows are barred and stuff. And she figures that the only possible chance that she might have is to just comply with his demands and do what he says. Aron should go into the vacuum business with the way that he describes how well this vacuum cleans up the mess. And I guess it's like more like a carpet cleaner than a vacuum, really. It's got like an attachment that sprays like scalding hot water to like steam it or something. That's important for later. Just as Vera finishes vacuuming up the mess, the slob returns and he is carrying a hunk of meat with a bone in it. Like, I imagine just a cartoon depiction of a hunk of meat from like the Flintstones or something. He gives it to Vera and tells her to eat it, and then he leaves. Vera's freaking out. She doesn't eat the meat, which is probably a good thing, or well, doesn't turn out to be a good thing. But I can understand it. We know mystery meat being human meat on this channel has become kind of a theme. So either the next day or maybe later that night, the slob returns, and this time he's not alone. He brings with him a woman with a plastic bag over her head. He notices that Vera hasn't touched the meat, so he takes a bite of it and then he tries to force feed it to her. She still refuses, and this angers him, so he begins to slam her head against the headboard of the bed, just over and over again until she blacks out. When she wakes up, she realizes that she is restrained to the bed and only wearing her t-shirt. And as she's laying there, she realizes that she can feel something inside of her. I'm not really sure why, but she assumes it to be the hunk of mystery meat. And she is correct. So the slob is still there, and he continues beating her until he breaks her nose. He removes the mystery meat and proceeds to take a bite, and then he proceeds to shove the meat in her face again, forcing her to eat it this time. Next, the slob picks up a 25-pound dumbbell and proceeds to crash it down onto Vera's stomach over and over and over again. Bear in mind, again, Vera is like 8 months pregnant at this time. So the slob begins to self-gratify, I guess, as he continues just smashing the dumbbell down on her stomach, breaking her ribs, and utterly destroying the fetus. The slob then puts a hand inside of Vera and grabs out a handful of gore and proceeds to shove it into Vera's mouth. The slob then says time to clean up. And he takes the hose of the vacuum, inserts it into Vera, turns it on, scalding her with the water. I told you that it would come into play later. Scalds her with the water and begins to suck out the dirty water and viscera. He then orders Vera to clean up the mess. I guess at some point he must have like undid her restraints or something. I don't know. Doesn't matter. You guys came here for fetus eating. So Vera complies, beginning to clean up as much of the mess as she can until she blacks out from pain and blood loss, I assume. This is the future that liberals want. So a short time later, Vera wakes up to the other woman calling out to her and begging her to untie her. So at first, Vera doesn't really trust her. She's like, how do I know you're not working with him? And the other woman is like, bitch, look at me. So the other woman says, take the trash bag off of my head and you'll see that I am not working with this man. So Vera removes the trash bag and finds that the slob had scalped this woman and removed the skin and lips from her mouth. The woman then tells Vera to guess where the slob reattached her lips. If you guessed her vagina, you would be correct. Which I feel like is so basic for like a sadistic psychopath, like, in my opinion. Like, stick them to her butthole or something. I don't know, get creative. So the woman, whose name is Sandra, kind of explains her story a little bit. She explains that she doesn't know how she got there to the house. She was at a bar. She was talking with a silver fox, and next thing she knew, she blacked out and she was here. She says that she had been there for a little over 2 weeks, and she's seen other girls come and go. The slob has his way with these women, brutalizes them, and then takes them to the barn out back where they never return. But it's okay because Sandra has devised a plan for their escape. Sandra casually removes her pants and proceeds to take the most massive shit that Vera has ever seen just right there on the floor. Vera then begins to dig through her own feces to find a keyring that she had swallowed, I guess, a few days ago. And yeah, so she tells Vera that there's a gun, like a locked gun box in the living room, and she is positive that she has seen the slob use this specific set of keys to unlock the gun case. So the two women decide that their best bet is to convince the slob that the two had turned on each other and killed each other. And then he'll be forced to remove them from the room or something. And whichever girl he starts moving first, the other girl can then sneak out of the house or out of the room and go get the gun and blow his head clean off. So they cut their arms and bleed into cups that are just strewn about in the room. They use a bone that they found like under the bed or something to take turns stirring the blood to keep it fresh, and they kind of talk back and forth with each other and wait until they hear the slob approaching. So sure enough, the slob returns, and the women, quickly cover themselves in their blood and kind of stage their death poses, and the slob walks in the door, kind of assesses the situation, and then he begins to drag Sandra down the stairs. And just as they had hoped, he left the door to the room unlocked. So Vera makes her move. She retrieves the keys that they had hidden, and she sneaks down to the gun case. She is lucky enough to find the key that belongs to the case, and pulls out a shotgun. And she's never fired a gun before, but Sandra kind of gave her like a brief little coaching on how to use the gun. So Vera is prepared, and she begins to sneak through the house to find the slob. When she does find him, he is in a room downstairs assaulting Sandra's corpse. So Vera kind of quietly sneaks up behind him and tries to position herself with the gun up, um, so that way she only shoots the slob and doesn't get Sandra hurt at all. But just as she is about to pull the trigger, Sandra shoots up from the bed. I assume they're on a bed, and takes the bone that they had been using earlier to stir the blood. She has it for some reason. She grabs it and she jams it right into the slob's eyeball. This causes the slob's head to duck down and Sandra's head to be in the crossfire. So, Sandra's head explodes, and the slob removes the bone from his eye socket, taking the eyeball with it, and Vera blacks out for some reason. I don't know if the slob attacked her or whatever. I can't remember, and I really don't care. The only important thing about it is that she blacks out and she wakes up inside the dreaded barn. She is in a cage with a chain around her neck, that's like bolted to the floor, and there are multiple women's corpses just strewn around the cage. There's also like a bunch of like transparent vats in the barn, and they all seem to contain body parts and just like chunks. There's also a giant meat grinder underneath them. The slob is in the cage with Vera, and when he notices that she has woken up, he proceeds to take off his pants and underwear. And our dear author goes into great detail about how disgusting the slob's groin region is. Like Harvey Weinstein, I imagine. He proceeds to taunt her by showing her that he has the keys. Then he approaches her and begins to assault her. And I guess this is just like too much labor for him. He's overexerting himself, and he proceeds to vomit all over Vera's broken nose cavity. So Vera is stuck in this cage for like days and days, just being assaulted over and over again by the slob. One day, the slob drags in a few fresh corpses and he puts them in the cage with Vera. One of them has a Walkman on. Vera, for some reason, grabs the Walkman and puts it on and begins to play it. New Kids on the Block is playing. The song, Hangin' Tough. So Vera takes this as a sign. She says, you know what, New Kids on the Block? I will hang tough. And she devises a plan. So she drags a few of the corpses close to where she can kind of reach them. She takes the chain that she has around her neck, and she begins to like beat the chain on one of the corpses and breaks the teeth out of the skull of the corpse. She also breaks the arm bone of one of the corpses off, and then she lies in wait. So the next day, the slob enters her cage once again and proceeds to assault her once again. But this time, as he enters her, he freezes in pain. And he begins to like yowl and howl, and he freaks out, and he removes himself from Vera to find his penis had been split just wide open. Vera had weaponized her vagina by sticking the broken, jagged arm bone up there. I think this is what Margaret Thatcher meant when she said girl power. So then Vera jumps up and throws the teeth that she had collected into the Slob's mouth as he's screaming, and like pocket sand. But I imagine the teeth are like, like Tic Tacs. Like, I feel like if you have a bunch of Tic Tacs in your mouth, it'd be difficult to choke on. I don't. So he's choking on the pocket teeth, and she grabs the keys from him and struggles and kind of fiddles with the keys, trying to find the right one to unlock the chain around her neck. Luckily, she succeeds just in time uh, for the slob to stop choking on the teeth, and he chases her out of the cage and up the stairs to the vats. As the slob is approaching her, Vera yanks the arm bone out of her vagina and just jams it right into his jaw, which sends the slob over the railing and onto the blades of the meat grinder below. She says some cool one-liner like, "Slob on my knob," and then she turns the meat grinder on. She finds some tattered clothes among the corpses, gets dressed, and leaves, taking the keys to the Slob's truck, and she drives home to her Daniel. Are you ready for some bullshit? So now we switch perspectives to the gray-haired man, and he happens upon the bloody scene. I guess he finds remnants of the Slob's corpse, and he's like, "Oh shit, this whole operation is in trouble." Um, so apparently he had been the one supplying the Slob with women. So he's like, "Well, damn," and he sets the house and the barn on fire and leaves. So now comes the part that made my eyes roll all the way back into my head. After that scene, we switch perspectives again, this time to a gay man named Steven. And yes, it matters that he's gay. So Steven, I guess, was the brains of the whole operation of uh, getting young women and giving them to the slob for him to assault and then turn into meat slurry, which I feel like is just not very good business practices. I don't know why you would allow the slob to like assault the bodies before you consume them, but I mean, I don't know. I prefer my sandwiches unfucked, but that might just be me. But the reason that Steven does this is because he and his other gay friends um, consume the woman's slurry to extract the feminine qualities from the young women. So the message is just homophobia. Men don't brutalize women, gay men brutalize women. So the gray-haired man enters Steven's home and says, "Hey, there's a bit of a problem." And he kind of explains the situation, explains there's no more product, and Steven says, "Yeah, this is a big fucking problem because I have Japanese businessmen coming to my house tonight to sample my product so that I can sell that to them." The gray haired man offers to order pizza, and Steven calls him a fucking idiot. And then the Japanese businessmen arrive at the home, and they do order a pizza. The businessmen like it very much, and then Steven gently breaks the news to them that he has no product for them to sample. So the businessmen eat Steven and his gay homies instead. Also then, surprise, Vera turns out to be pregnant which sets us up for a godforsaken sequel, which I will not be reading. The fucking end. This book, it it wasn't even like polarizing disturbing. Like, I'm not gonna lay up at night like thinking about this book. Is this just conservatism? It's not even fun. You think gay men just want to be girls? Somebody needs to do a deep dive on Aron and really check on him. Like, Aron, I feel like at best, you don't understand that art has a message and potential consequences. And at worst, you're just a psycho who can't even come up with creative gore. Anyway, I'm fucking done with this George Bush nightmare. Bye, guys. I'll see you next time.